Oh, Ian's disappearing himself. We've been so busy. We haven't been doing very many of these live videos. They've been they've been getting put on the back burner. We got Sunflower Susan. Looks like Sunflower Steve at me being blind at first glance. We've been busy, and it has been hot.
Yeah.
That's what we titled it, and that's what we'll start off with talking about.
It's been like around 100 degrees, right around that, which is about as hot as it gets here normally. Other than that anomalous heat dome last year.
Yeah, we got like crazy hot.
Where it got to like 100 and
what was it?
15, 100.
We got
somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been 100 every day, and it's been like we usually have 0% humidity, but we were actually having. Here's desert Serina complaining about humidity.
Yeah.
It's been so humid. I checked the weather and we have like 15% humidity. Feels so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Last year, I looked this up the other day. Last year we got 8 inches of rain in like the whole year. And I think lots of that was in November. But that was like technically desert territory. And then
because what is it, 12 inches or less is desert?
No, they were saying like, I think we were on the upper end of it, like 4 to 8 inches was like typical desert. But there's like semi-arid zones and stuff after that, I think.
We're semi-arid, aren't we?
Technically, like year after year, that's what we're...
We're not a desert, we're a semi-arid zone.
Yeah. There's one little like micro region that's close to us, like a couple hour drive, that is, I think, technically desert, and it's kind of in the same dry side of the mountains that we are, because basically the reason we're so dry here is Vancouver, Hope absorbs all of the water coming in from the ocean with their like big, mountains and stuff, and then by the time the air gets to us, most of all the moisture has been sucked out of it, so we have these like this dry, hot climate, and we're kind of used to these, like this is temperatures maybe a little bit warmer than normal.
This is normal.
This is like kind of in the normal.
If anything, this year has been cold.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so we get 100 every year, so we're not like, oh my, like right now. Here, let's get my weather app because it looks very dramatic. Oh, we got Flower Hill Farm. Nicole's hanging out. You've been busy. I'm amazed that you jumped on here. I've been meaning to send you a message, but I'm too busy, and then you are so busy that I figure it'll wait.
Our cherry trees are near the end.
Okay, here's how dramatic the weather looks. Oh, hide your face. There. Heat warning. It looks very scary, and it is hot enough that they do this. We use the government weather, and so they do like a heat warning when the weather's hot enough that municipalities do things, set up like cooling zones and stuff. So it will be like heat warning anytime it's hot enough that you need to be careful and protect your body type thing. Or winds high enough that there could be danger, wind warning.
Yeah. I've been working outside this week, just doing some like farm cleanup type tasks, and this is the hottest weather we've had so far this year. So it gets to you when you're outside, and you're like, oh yeah, like it just feels amazing, right? It feels because it is so dry, and we've had a breeze, so it's been really comfortable hot weather as far as hot weather goes. It just feels like fun summer weather. But then,
wait, are you talking about now?
Yeah, now. Because I've been having a fun time being outside of it. I mean,
I've been complaining.
Surrounded by cherry trees and apricots and stuff. But then at the end of the day, you come inside and you're just like, whoa, like it just cooked it out of you. We are Canadian, right? So we work in colder temperature ranges typically than most people do, and then when it gets hot, we're like, yeah, it's hot, but it's such a short little window, which talking about how short our summers are, I think is a good kind of transition into some of the ideas that we want to talk about, because we want to talk a bit about what happened this summer and then us kind of recovering from it.
But first, like, on the heat, Ian does make a good point, because I was like, this is what we're going to talk about. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, because it is hot enough that things need to change on the farm.
Yeah.
And our vlogs, we're still behind on the vlogs. We have one coming out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, one's done.
We got one coming, but it's from 2 weeks ago. So we have some catch up to do. But with it being so hot, and this has been kind of a huge learning curve for us this year, because we've never done this many flowers before. Being able to handle the veggies in the heat is a lot easier than the flowers. The flowers, you really need to be on the ball when it comes to the hot weather, because veggies, you pick it hot, you throw them in cold water, they instantly get cooled down. It's really easy to deal with them. But the flowers, that doesn't work. So we've been doing most of our harvesting work at night. When it finally starts to cool down in the dark, we've been getting our money's worth out of our headlamps.
Yeah.
And so we've been doing that, and it's kind of been like, oh wow, okay, like, needing to be. It's made me think about, okay, we're gonna get heat like this every summer. We need to like put this into the calculation for how we're gonna be able to maximize the work in the heat. And we invested in an air conditioner this year.
Yeah.
For our outbuilding. We have air condition. Our house doesn't have air conditioners other than in our bedroom windows. We have like little window air conditioner units, which are like life-saving. Ian life-saving, because the heat at night, now that I'm, a middle-aged woman, makes me so crabby that I'm fine in the day, but when it comes night and I'm like laying in bed and I'm too hot and I'm like, I can't sleep, then I turn into like a horrible, like, evil person. And during heat waves like this, I probably would have like murdered Ian in his sleep if we didn't have air conditioners. I'd be like, I hear you breathing, die. So we really appreciate the air conditioners in the bedrooms.
Apparently, I appreciate it even more now. I didn't.
You knew this, because I tell you this. Ian's like, because Ian always puts them into the windows, and he's like, I don't want to put them in the windows. It's so much work. Like, why do I have to do it? And I'm like, this is why, because they are literally saving your life, and they.
I like feeling warm. It like I said, the summer in Canada is so brief. It's a little different here because it's like, as soon as September hits, it cools down.
Okay, but you say this. I mean, I can go back through live videos, and he says this every year about the window air conditioners. But I will say this, because I've been doing the night shift. So Ian's like in bed for like hours and hours before I come to bed. And it's not like I come to bed and I have to turn on the air conditioner during heat like this. I come to bed and it's like the air conditioner's going because Ian has turned it on for himself.
Well, I also do it so that it's cool for when you get in.
But in heat like this, you do appreciate the window air conditioner.
And I'll be like, oh, I'm so comfortable in bed. It's nice and warm. It feels like you're in this like sauna. Your muscles feel all relaxed. And then it'll be a half hour later, and I'm still laying there in the heat, still awake. And I'm like, okay, I like it, but I'd like to get to sleep now. And then, an hour later, you're still laying there. Like, I do find it harder to sleep in the hot temperatures. It's not that I'm like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable, but it's like I can't switch over as easy. Then you get the white noise of the air conditioner, and it's like cool. And
the kids sleep really good with the air conditioners. They don't like the sound at first, but they get used to it after they've gone for a couple days, and then they sleep really good with
otherwise
the white noise.
Sam wakes up like as soon as the sun is up, he's up, and he's just like you can't be like, hey Sam, don't ever do this thing that you do every single morning. And he'll be he'd agree to you in the moment, but he just then the next morning he's Leah.
Yeah, because he doesn't wait when he wakes up. He doesn't wake us up. He lets us sleep, but he goes and he wakes up his sister to like play with them, which is cute. It's nice that they have like a good relationship.
Yeah.
But they'd have a better relationship if he'd let his night owl sister get her sleep-ins in the morning.
We put Leah to bed, and then she like lays in bed for another 2 hours, like looking at books, you know, pretending to sleep. We'll walk by and she'll be like, and then you go and you open up. There's like 5 books.
Yeah, she's like me. Once she hits like teenage years, if I'd be like, "Hey, do you want to stay up till 4 a.m. working with me?" She'd be like, yeah, totally." And then I'm gonna sleep till 2 p.m.
The summer nights are some of my like favorite moments in life. I love summer nights. They invigorate me. I love you can just like spend so much time outside. Just feels so perfect. It's like a fun time, right? It's a fun atmosphere. And so when we're like late night farming, and I'm maybe I'm like trying to get some cool looking night footage, and we're doing some work and
loving the night footage.
Yeah, and there's some good like radio shows that appeal to me that I like to listen to. Like listen to some. There's like a after dark music kind of DJ thing going on CBC radio on the weeknights, and so it's like Friday night, and I'm listening to all this fun, kind of like soulful music, and then it's just like we have this big valley, how we have that big view. It's like there's 1,000 houses that we can see from our property, so you kind of hear the sounds of somebody's music going over there, and some car down on the highway in the valley, or somebody like whatever it is, right? It just feels kind of like lively, like there's this energy.
One thing too that I think maybe, because I think of like the audience, and so many of you guys are, all over the world. The one thing about Canadian summer nights is that they're really short, right? So, just because of where we are, I don't know, what's that called? Right? We have short days in the winter, and we have short nights in the summer. So, it doesn't get dark until 10, and the sun comes up at like 4, right? So you don't have a lot of night.
When I used to work forestry, there's like a bunch of summers in a row where I worked in a place called Tumbler Ridge, and it's like significantly further north than we are here. And the summer days it's not like Alaska, but the days are like super long. And
well, it's almost Alaska.
Yeah, it's getting up there. And the birds would start chirping at something like 2 a.m, and it would just be like an hour before I really had to get working anyways, because we'd work fire hours, so we get up like really early, and we'd only work until kind of like the heat of the day, and we'd get like flown in by helicopters to do our work because we were working in like the mountains, but it was like 2 a.m. and all the morning birds are chirping, and you're like, no, I'm just trying to sleep. Like I ran chainsaw all day. My body is so tired. Please let me go back to sleep because I have to get up in a short amount of time. But like really, it was crazy how early like the mornings would come. You just until you experienced it, it's just
okay. There's a couple questions that I can do in like one sentence. We'll do that, and then I think we should get to what you were saying before. Okay, so our stainless steel buckets that everyone loves, we get those from Princess Auto, or if you're not Canadian, like a feed store. They're feed buckets is what they are. And then someone was asking if Amy is cut and come again, and it is. But I don't know how long of a window. It's not like all year, all summer. But definitely probably like 4 to 6 weeks on it. Okay, because we were talking about what we're going to do on the farm, what we've been doing for heat, but what we've apparently been doing is enjoying air conditioning.
Yeah.
and enjoying the nights, which I think is fair. And also our video that is coming out tomorrow literally is like everything that we're doing to like beat the heat. So, like, I think that's what it's called, How We Beat the Heat.
Yeah.
So, just watch that for actual details. um, but the other thing we wanted to talk about was, this kind of heat wave. It's hitting right at what is the midway point
Yep.
in our selling year, which feels crazy.
Yeah, it's like I because this is our 4th year. You start getting used to the patterns. I've always felt like a lot more chilled out in the second half of the season. It's like you've got all this momentum behind you.
Well, it's easier too, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's less to do in the second half.
Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna. We're still gonna be working all the time because we got to get caught up on videos. So here's the deal.
There's less to do. We only need to do the amount of 4 people instead of the amount of 8 people.
Yeah. The videos, they're all getting filmed. That's the number one goal, is that, it's fun to do a farmer's market and it's fun to document the experience. So I'm like, if I have to choose between filming a vlog and editing a vlog, then I'd prioritize filming, because we can get caught up in the fall period when the work does slow down, and we can start maybe getting caught up on the videos. But all the videos for the farmers markets are going to get filmed, and then we can have this full story that comes out when it comes out over the course of time. But we're trying to get caught up. It's just one video is a substantial effort. Between the two of us, we both have been working on them, and it's like a lot of time.
It takes like 3-4 days to edit them, so there literally isn't enough days in the week to do 2.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
One of these weeks.
We'll get there. What?
Yeah, I'll go check them.
All right. The other thing which seems crazy. So this needs a little bit of a backstory. Like Ian's talked about the videos. Now let's talk about the farm. So we're halfway on the farm season. So we have a 25-week selling season. We kind of start end of April, beginning of May, and then we go to Halloween. So we have like August, September, October, right? So halfway. We have really messed up things on the farm this year, because we've just been so busy that we've been unable to stay on top of things. We did really good for the spring. Spring got all planted out, but then the weather was like all chaotic, and it pushed things back. And then we got so busy. The selling, the selling started, April, May with those tulips, and it's been busy and it's been nonstop ever since. And we don't want to complain about that, because having more sales than we expected is amazing. But it does mean that we're spending a lot more hours than we expected. And I saw someone asking about employees, and we are at this point, the sales are strong enough that it means that, we very seriously can think about an employee for next year. But it still doesn't make sense to necessarily bring someone on for a couple months. We kind of only just be getting them trained before we'd then be laying them off, because the season would be over. So we're better off to just kind of struggle through, get to the end of the year, and be prioritizing being ready for next year, right? So we messed up summer. The season we're currently in, we messed up. We did not get our plantings. A bunch of our plantings didn't get done. We had a bunch of plans for veggies and things like that, and that never happened. We had a bunch of crops that didn't make it. Weeds, and weeds don't bother me too much, probably because I sell them all the time. So many of my fillers and my greeneries are weeds. So, weeds have a special place in my heart. But weeds really, really bother Ian, and the farm is just drowning in weeds. So and it's like, I don't know if we're ever gonna get caught up. I'm like, let's rename those weed beds cover crop, and and just empty things out as we need space to plant. But yeah, so we didn't plant properly for summer. We're fine. The plan for this year, like from the beginning, was we were going to keep growing in the.
I had to go pick Sam some apricots, so I was gonna show off. Check out.
Yeah, apricots have started.
How nice these look right now. John?
I'm good. I probably have eaten, not exaggerating, 15 apricots today, and I've eaten a lot less apricots than I ate yesterday. Yeah, okay, so the plan this year all along was that we were going to grow in the space that we have, because you have to keep growing in the space that you have. If you stop growing in the space that you have, it instantly turns back in to not farm. It takes 2 months. And then you have to resalvage all of that again, right? So it's like starting kind of, it's a setback if you don't grow in spaces. So the plan all along was, even though we weren't going to need anywhere near the amount of space that we had prepared on the farm this year, because we were kind of doing this reset year, refocus onto the flowers, we were still going to plant it out. And the reason why, other than having something growing in it, is for all of you guys.
Yeah.
The plan was that, we were going to plant half an acre of flowers. Not because we had any plans to harvest anything close to a half an acre of flowers, but we wanted to plant half an acre of flowers so we could make all these incredible, beautiful videos of half an acre of flowers bloomed out, right? Because every time you see our fields and it's just flowers everywhere, that's us being bad at flower farming.
Yeah, those are the ones where it's maybe you could pick through there and find, a bucket of fresh, good stuff, but a lot of times when it's all just a bed of color, then that's kind of getting too old to be able to sell. And it's so everything's just is whatever, it looks good.
Okay, I have to laugh at Nicole's comment, the attention Hallmark, because that comment is very, very funny, because Hallmark over the last 5 years has been filming so many of their movies in the Okanagan.
Yeah.
The Okanagan has basically become the film studio for Hallmark romances.
And we were in one.
So and yeah, we've been in one, and we've been asked to be in multiples, because obviously there's a market in every single Hallmark romance movie. So all the market vendors are basically on call as extras for them. But literally, I wouldn't be surprised if we get contacted at some point by Hallmark.
Well, I don't know, because I was talking to them about filming, because they wanted our flower stand in a park setting for one of their movies, and they weren't offering enough money, so I was like,
well, they were paying.
No, they were paying $300.
I think it was $200
Which is not enough money.
for us.
That's not enough money.
That's enough money for.
No, because you have to go with all the flowers, and you have to spend a full day there, right? So, and then you have to take it down, to put all the stock out. It's just stupid, right?
Yeah, we weren't good.
But I was like, it would be fun to film a video about it. That would be cool. That'd be really funny. I was like, oh, I could
make a vlog about being in the Hallmark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll do it for that, because it would be fun for me. But I was like, I'm not gonna just do it impromptu. I told them, and I was like, if you want me to be there, then I have to be able to do this vlog. And they're like, nah, we can't really do that. So I was like,
Which, fair enough.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
They have all these waiver stuff that we're now learning about, so it would be just a nightmare for them, because they're professionals and they have different standards than making a YouTube vlog. So that's fine. But I'm that's going to be their policy forever, so I don't really have any interest in being in their videos.
Yeah, but
tons,
they're
not going to offer enough.
And that's fine. But the joke is that tons of the local farms are in.
Yeah, because they're
Like,
getting,
or literally, like, you know, all of our friends down at the market, like, their farms have literally been in
yeah.
the Hallmark movies because so much is filmed here. You know, it's just funny, right? Because it's like, you know, the joke is like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. It's like a Hallmark movie,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like, no, literally, it is the Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Okay, but what was I saying? Okay, we messed up summer. That's what I was saying. But it's fine because we planted half an acre of flowers with plans that it was just going to look beautiful for all of you guys. So now I have half an acre of flowers that I can pick off of. So even though I messed up my planting on summer, because I planted 10 times more flowers than I needed, I still have lots of flowers.
Yeah, there's lots.
Yeah. So summer has been a little bit of a bust. The thing that makes me the most sad is that I super messed up sunflowers. And like I feel so
People
bad
keep
about
asking,
this.
like, how do you mess up sunflowers? People keep asking that.
I know.
But what you mean is that you didn't plant your succession plantings.
Well, no, like I messed
killed-
up sunflowers in two ways because I know people ask this and I answered it in the comments, but you know they get buried. But so I did a planting. I direct seeded a planting of sunflowers, and for some reason they didn't grow. Like I don't know why. They're starting to look like maybe I'll be able to pick some really sad sunflowers out of it eventually, so I'll have something. But they're not going to look like sunflowers. They're going to be like, you know, like daisy, like tiny little zinnia-sized sunflowers instead of, you know, I like them to be like palm size. And then because at the same time that I like direct seeded some sunflowers, I also started some seedlings of sunflowers. And then they didn't get planted out in time, so they're super root bound. But even those, they look like they will. They're going to do something. Because we did get them planted. They're just, yet again, going to be sad.
Yeah.
And they're going to be delayed. And then after that, there's like kind of another gap, right? Because we messed up those successions. And then it took so long that we kind of only just did our most recent planting of sunflowers, which will be there kind of for late fall.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer. Another bummer thing is Sunflower Steve gave me some sunflower seeds, and like I didn't plant those because I wanted to grow them during the prime season. I wanted to give them like the very best conditions, and because the first things that I planted were all like super early. And now I think it's too late. I don't want to risk them because the seeds won't go bad. I'll be able to plant them next year. But
maybe plant one or two.
You know,
I'll
plant them next year. But it's so sad. You know, I had a chance to like have Sunflower Steve sunflowers, and I messed it up.
It's hard to complain too much because the reason that everything happened like this is that, you know, we just were getting so many sales in the spring and the early summer. We were just selling so much that it was just, you know, making bouquets, recovering from making bouquets, making more bouquets, you know, more just the amount of harvesting and arranging, and then, you know, like keeping up with the videos and having family. We were just like maxed out, and it's like if we wanted to focus more on the farm, then maybe we would have had to skip like a market week or something like that. And
that's not worth it.
Yeah, we're just like prioritizing taking advantage of, you know, the good sales and seeing, you know, it's more important that because this is still a learning year for us, right? This isn't like it's a 5-year plan, it's not a 4-year plan. And so we've like learned some really important stuff this year. And I'm like, you know, forget about this season already. You know, I'm on the downhill. I'm like, because the thing about farming is you're fully committed, basically. You know, in the spring, it's like you're riding that ride. You're on train tracks. You can only plant the things, you know, you can only harvest the things that you planted.
You reap what you sow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in the off season, you get a chance to be like, okay, what worked, what didn't, you know, what is, so, you know, we've already kind of processed a bunch of that, and I can already see, as can Serina, like this really awesome future for the farm. So it's like, yeah, like maybe we'll have some shortages here or there, you know, maybe we'll be busy and we won't be able to get everything done, but we've just seen that this is an actual like profitable business to build in the future. So it's like, yeah, temporary hiccups for like long-term success. You know, great feedback that we've gotten by focusing on those sales, and you know, it's like this will be the only year where we don't have a succession of sunflowers. You know, we're
You know, the other thing too is we've seen, you know, because we're gonna hit this window where we're kind of like fading into fall, and we're not like the fall's not gonna be as successful as it was last year. You know, there's so many things that I did last year that were like hitting the ball out of the park.
Yeah.
Right? Like we had the sea, or I want to say sea holly for some reason, flowering kale, which we were like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like, period, the end, this has like transformed our business because it was a focal flower that is like so unique that people just gravitate towards it, that is available after the frost.
Yeah.
So it was like we could have a field of that and sell it all.
Yeah.
And then we paired it with like sedums, having that whole bed of sedums. Those all go past the frost. You know, like having those during this period of time, it's kind of like we had so much success. Yeah, everyone's getting.
Well, I was gonna split it so you guys could see, you know, because some people are saying they've never had an apricot before, so you know they're kind of fun to split in half.
Yeah. Okay, so we had so much success with spring this year, and we're realizing that maybe these like spring fall windows when you really need to know what you're doing to be able to do it, maybe those are the things that you focus on, and then you kind of coast. Like what we did, like what we did this year, right? Like, don't worry too much about summer, coast through summer, you know, and with things like sunflowers and glads that are like so easy, right? That like, we could come up with like very, very simple to make that would sell well bouquets that kind of would coast us through. You know, we have a lot of potential. We have people reaching out about wanting to have us wholesale bouquets to them. And those, like, that's the window when they want it. They kind of want it for this, like, July, August, September window, which is, like, a bad time of year for us. So, you know, we could kind of switch our focus from, like, direct to retail spring, you know, wholesaling over the summer period, and then direct to retail fall, and you know we could be doing like incredible.
Yeah.
You know, it's just getting this balance for everything. But yeah, we messed up fall a little bit. We're not gonna have any flowering kale. You know, there's our zinnias. We had plans for doing multiple successions on the zinnias, and we didn't do that. So the zinnias are just gonna kind of fade out when we still want them, you know, but there's always next year.
Yeah, and right? And like you know that's exactly it, right? It doesn't. It's not going to make or break us. The fact that we've achieved this, these like sales, you know, levels. You know, our long-term goal was like the farm needs to make $4,000 a week during the busy season for it. Like
our like from day one, the goal was 100,000 gross a year.
Yeah. And
flowers have a 25-week season for us.
Yeah. So that only like nets us like, you know, 50,000 or whatever if you know. So that's not like a crazy amount of money, but it's like
doing 2,000. Sorry, I'm just confused about what you're saying.
No, if you make 100, then taxes and then business expenses and stuff. Because it's like, you know, it is just gross revenue. It's not like we're saying we need to profit 4,000 a week. We need to like gross 4,000 a week to make, you know, any sort of substantial income. That's like, you know, the basement. This is like a high cost of living area. Everybody knows, you know, inflation and costs and stuff. We need to like make some money, and for years, you know, YouTube never really made that much for us either. So, the seeing that we're kind of, you know, we're getting in the $3,500 range, you know, for some weeks. So it's like, these are
crazy.
You know, these are possible numbers.
Our goal was 2,000 this year.
Yeah, and 2,000 is like, you know, it's been no problem, you know, week after week. So, you know, we're halfway there. I was initially scared, you know, because like the tulips. Tulips are amazing. Tulips are my favorite flower, and so they look so good. And then the
Yes.
ranunculus come.
Ian's gonna tell about how he's a non-believer.
Well, no, the ranunculus. I mean, they're legitimately my favorite flower.
I know,
So then they hit.
but you were a non-believer.
And then, well, I was worried.
I was singing at him last night. I'm like, gotta have faith. Ooh, you gotta have faith in my planning.
Okay, wait.
Okay, do it, Ian.
Okay, so look how good that looks, right?
Okay, so apricots are kind of like if a peach wasn't that good.
Oh,
Right?
It doesn't want to split. There you go.
Daddy said can have a pot, so.
Oh.
Yeah, actually they can. But
Okay.
only hey, grandma's popsicles.
So that's kind of what it looks like. They're kind of like.
Did you show the pit?
Oh, and here's the pit. Right. So they're a pretty big pit.
They're kind of similar. They're like a dry plum for like the
Or,
structure
yeah,
of
like,
it and the pit
With
and
some
everything.
sort of like peachy type.
No, and then
texture.
they taste like a peach that like isn't juicy.
Yeah, they're dry, right? So it's not messy to eat.
Yeah.
And they're not my favorite fruit fresh, but they dry really good. You know how like dry mango is like really, really good in its own way, separate from mango, in my opinion. You know, apricots are the same. Apricots, when they dry, their flavor really like shines, and it's works pretty well because they're already so dry, right?
The variety that we have is like a really good variety. It's like one of like the commercial, professional varieties. When we first moved here, people like by describing the flavor profile and like the look of them and everything, people said they think that the variety is Skaha, which is like a commercial variety that was kind of developed back in the 60s, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if our trees are up to 50 years old.
Yeah. There's all these like legacy apricot trees from back when Kelowna was just like this whole valley used to just be orchards of like fruit, and it's transitioned to like cherries and like vineyards.
Cherries.
Well, cherries.
And vineyards, yeah.
Any like vineyard is like ding, top of the line.
I don't know. I think the most money is in cherries, and then because growing the grapes themselves aren't like a high production crop. It's the like selling the tourist
wine.
Experience of the wine.
It's also like cool to be a rich person who owns a vineyard.
Yeah.
And so the properties might be overvalued because it's like rich people retirement plan. If you're like super rich, buy a beautiful property in the Okanagan and start
Are you offering this?
Do you want it?
No, but I will want it if you keep waving it in my face.
So,
anyways, what's your point?
There's like tons and tons of vineyards, and they might be overpriced.
No, but what's your original point? Something about there's like fruit trees everywhere?
Yeah, so all over Kelowna, there's all these like apricot trees that are these, 50-year-old massive fruit trees from when everything was like orchards. And they grow, like apricots grow perfectly.
Yeah, they're like a weed here.
Because they don't have any like bugs that go after them. There's like,
Ours are full of bugs. Earwigs will tunnel inside of them and they lay eggs in them. But
it's completely
like we still eat it.
If an apricot, if an apricot gets like damaged, it falls apart pretty quick. So it's like if there's any significant damage to it, you can tell that that's not an apricot to eat. Like they bruise very easily. They disappear once they hit the ground, almost immediately.
And I think that's like
they kind of just like
apparently
dissolve.
like they're hard to get and I think it's because they don't transport well.
Yeah, so that's probably why lots of people don't have them. Is because like
if you can't, and I think they need cold and dry. I think they need the.
frostbite.
No, I'm good. They need this like weird Okanagan balance of like they can't grow in super warm conditions. Like they need like cold periods. But they also like can't be too cold or they die. They're kind of because I think most of the apricots that are consumed in the world are grown in Turkey. Is the story?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like anytime you get dried apricots, it's like all of Turkey is like an apricot orchard for like the global dried apricot supply. I could be wrong, but I know that there's like one area kind of similar to there, and it's like just perfect conditions, and then like the Okanagan is also just this random spot that has really great conditions, and all the commercial varieties were developed here in the Okanagan.
Good work, us.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of apricots grow in California, of course.
Well, everything grows in
Yeah,
California.
of course.
Okay, what were we saying? Okay, so we messed up.
Yeah.
Summer. And we're getting back on track for fall. But we messed up fall a little bit too, because things that needed to be planted like to grow in the summer to harvest in the fall, no luck.
Yeah.
But the really weird thing, so and like I was kind of laughing as Ian was talking about, you just get through the season, and then over the winter you have to like you take stock of what happened, and then you plan and you go forward for the next plan, and that is true, but that is only true of vegetables. And now that we're growing flowers, that's not the case anymore.
It's longer.
And Ian doesn't I do a lot of the planning, and I talk at him, and fair enough, he doesn't always listen to me. There's only so many hours in the day to listen to me, and I somehow figure out how to talk for 30 of those daily hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, flowers are more complex than veggies, because flowers the planning schedule is more like 14 months.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of like veggies.
It's
like
just before you have to do it that year, so it's hard to learn quickly.
Tulips are the perfect example. We ordered 2023 tulips in March of 2022. And the tulips didn't bloom and start to get harvested until April, May. And then we had to decide what we were going to grow next year, not based on information from this year. We had to decide what we were going to do,
The previous year, which was the first year we sold tulips, and we didn't sell that many of them.
Yeah. So basically, what we did is we're just like, I don't know, let's just do more of what we did last year, or what we do more of what we're planning on doing this year. And if what we're doing this year doesn't work, then I guess we'll tweak it for 2024.
But we ended up having to put more in. We upped our order, right? Because we talked to but we just kind of made the deadline for it, and we did it during the tulip harvest when we're like,
oh my god,
we
these are
need
so good
to get more tulips for next year.
I laugh so much because we've looked back at that footage a few times, because we've edited through it a couple different times. But there's this like clip of me being like, we have 5,000 this year, but like the most I could possibly do is like I could do a little bit more. I could do like 7,000. But I couldn't do any more than that.
Yeah, I couldn't do like 10,000.
Yeah, I couldn't do 10,000. That's too much.
And then that night, I think it was.
And then we ended up ordering 12,000 tulips.
I thought it was 13.
I mean, it could be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
We also.
But as I remember, like it was very soon after you said that we did do.
We have like 20,000 bulbs coming, I think, because we also. I feel like we ordered like 5,000 daffodils.
It's hard to keep track because it happened so far. Previous, so it's like every time we get
we'll find out when they show up, and we have to plant them all.
Our unboxing videos, I don't want to brag or anything like that, but I'm going to. Our unboxing videos are probably more genuinely surprising to me than most YouTubers' unboxing videos, because it's like it's happened so long before we ordered this stuff. It's like a year ago. What did you order a year ago? Can't really remember. I assume because it's us that it's going to be like there's some good stuff in there, right?
I mean, there's definitely there's some lying.
What's in there?
There's some lying in the unboxing videos, because there's definitely times when we like stop and like Google what it is, because we're like, what is? I can't remember. And we edit that out because it's boring.
Yeah.
Us sitting on our phones, but yeah. And like
the excitement is genuine because it's like I forgot we ordered this.
Yeah, it's like Christmas.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I
but
trust our, but
Okay, so the point that I'm making, the point I'm trying to get to is we're halfway through 2022. So that means what we have coming up in the next week or two is we need to start planting for 2023.
Yeah.
That's like what's on our plate.
yeah, totally.
It's like we need to start seedlings for 2023 harvest.
You know what? You know what I'm most excited about next year?
What?
Fall ranunculus.
I know. If
Fall
we can do
ranunculus. If we can do that,
it,
then
we follow. Okay, so you guys should, if you like podcasts, which I know a bunch of you do, because that's what you treat this video as. You guys got to check out the Sustainable Flowers podcast. We love them. They're 2 flower farmers in Alberta. So they're dealing with like super short, I think they're like a zone 3. Very short season, very
Yeah.
cold.
in Alberta, you can only go outside in the summer for a very brief period of time, and then it's just like the mosquitoes own the country, and then it's cold again, and then you're like, well, that was.
But they do fall ranunculus. And they basically plant them like as soon as ranunculus finish blooming. They plant them in their tunnels. They don't have hot summers like we do, so
We're gonna have to figure out the time.
so it's gonna be a little tricky. We'd have to
I think we should
we'd have to
succession.
pre-sprout them inside
Yeah.
in air conditioning and kind of like grow them out. Because if you put them into the heat, they won't flower, right? So I think we're gonna have to kind of hit, like, grow them out, like maybe actually grow them in like a 4-inch pot.
Yeah.
So they're getting to be like quite a big plant inside, under lights, in air conditioning, before planting them out. Oh, thanks, Kelly. Just got the link there. There's your chat. Before planting them out in into a shaded greenhouse, maybe like mid-September, when we're finally starting to cool down enough.
Well,
And
it is
then-
significantly cooler in the tunnels.
Yeah, but like,
If they're already.
and then we would have to, because they like the cool weather, we'd have to kind of be having them bloom with like past frost. The tunnels would be sheltering them for them to bloom. I have no idea if it would work, but we want, if we could figure out how it could work without it being like too difficult.
Yeah.
Because if it's too difficult, then what's the point?
But like ranunculus sell. They like, when people are walking by them, people stop and they come over to the stand. They make people come to the stand all by themselves. And if we put an ad up on, Marketplace with a big ranunculus bouquet, it makes people drive here to come and get some or to like follow up on it.
But it's, the other thing too is I bet you Lysianthus is going to be like that also.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so Lysianthus would gladly be blooming in a tunnel in the fall if we can get the timing right on it. So maybe that's better use of the space, and then we don't have to do this weird fighting air conditioning thing. Or maybe we consider doing dahlias again, which are exactly the same as the ranunculus. People will drive to get dahlias, but they're done in a tunnel that has shade cloth throughout the summer, and then they're being protected from the frost by the tunnel to get like a late season dahlia flush. You need to try it, and like, this is the one thing about the flower farming, we show it in the videos, but I think it quite often kind of gets cut out of the videos, because
There's a bunch of stuff like that.
like most of like the kind of like understanding what we're doing stuff, that's part of the reason why we do these live videos, because it literally takes us like an hour and a half to explain what we're doing on very small concepts, partially because I'm not very concise or quick at explaining
Yeah,
anything.
you're not really direct.
But also because they're complicated, right? They are legitimately complicated ideas, right?
Mhm.
For people to fully understand, before I tell you why I'm doing something, I have to explain Okanagan weather to you.
Yeah, and like
Right?
who you
But-
are and
Yeah, these
where
are-
you grew up.
These are all important
and
details for
that time
fully
that thing
understanding.
happened that was like really
I mean,
fun.
obviously, I think that. That's why my stories take forever. But so now, what was I saying?
You're talking about apricots.
No, I wasn't. So what I'm trying to get to is we do these experiments and they don't necessarily make sense, right? Because like I've seen a couple of comments, people are like, oh, just try a couple. Like just try a couple and see how it goes. But trying a couple
Is the same.
doesn't teach us anything. We learn as much doing 5 as we learn doing 0, right? Because you need, for us, it's not about if it can grow, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure I could make like fall ranunculus happen, right? So it's not about if I could get a single plant grown in air conditioning, planted out to fall flower. I'm sure I can do that. The question is, what does it take to do 500 of them? How much work does it
Yeah.
take? Is it scalable? Like, do I have space for 500 4-inch ranunculus
Yeah.
inside on racks in air conditioning? What is the labor to do this?
To
right?
water them.
Yeah, to sustain
Watering
them.
schedules are annoying.
How many stems do I get off of them when I do this? And then finally, do they pull in the customers in the fall in the same way Ian's talking
Yeah.
about how they pull in customers in the spring, right? Because we can say that they pull in customers in the spring all we want. That doesn't mean anything about the fall. That's just kind of like, oh, like I see a trend that people like ranunculus. Let's experiment and see if they always like ranunculus or if they only like spring ranunculus. So we need to do things on a very large scale so that we can learn how to do it as a farm.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't have any interest in doing things, well, that's not true. There are things that we do on like a garden scale. But I don't have any interest in doing things for the farm that we can't do on a farm scale.
It's just
because-
wasted effort.
Because I need to be able to make money, right? So like for us, dahlias are the perfect example. We've been growing a couple beds of dahlias. Can't make money on dahlias on farm scale. I can't do it. They don't make any money.
They just don't produce enough.
They don't produce enough. They do not like my conditions. I have too many pests that cause viruses. I can't overwinter them nicely. I can't make it work. Their vase life sucks, so they're also not a great like market.
Yeah, but we
Market
are getting a lot more interest in florists and events.
Yes, exactly, right? So different factors. We bought 100 dahlias this year, right? So we have all these dahlias because we like them. That's like a garden scale, right? We planted 100 dahlias. We could have 100 dahlias because we can have things for ourselves. They don't have to be there for the farm. But
and then we can justify it for like YouTube. We're like, oh,
well, yeah, we definitely use YouTube to justify a lot of things.
it's like a nice like walkway surrounded by dahlias, on both sides. That sounds beautiful little spot,
Yeah, because we love them, right? We love them. We think they're great. But we don't love them on the farm.
From a business.
From a business.
They
perspective.
do sell. They do have some appeal at farmers markets. They do bring people in. They do get attention.
This is my problem with dahlias. If someone knows dahlias and is buying them specifically for dahlias, then they're great, right? Because people see the value in them, they buy them, they last 4 days, and then they're like, that's what they are. If someone is buying the bouquet because they're like, wow, this is beautiful, and it has dahlias in it, and they take it home, and the main flowers in it die after 4 days, that could leave a bad impression on a customer, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that person's bouquets only last 4 days.
But I you know, we used dahlias in the bouquets last year, and I didn't really get any of that feedback. You know, most of the feedback that I got about the bouquets was that they were lasting a long time, and so.
But
I know
you wouldn't hear that person, right? Right? Like the only person who's gonna tell you that, like, oh, I was disappointed this bouquet didn't last, are like people who are already like invested.
People contact us about, you know, if a bouquet, you know, there's one person who picked up a bouquet from the roadside stand when the door was closed, and so they got like an older one that had been zapped by the sun, and like we hadn't updated in like this earlier in the year or something like that, and then they contacted us, and I was like, oh yeah, you got one of those ones, like I know the exact person. So it's like people do contact you if something gets screwed up.
But I will say, right, because we have had people contact us, because stuff happens, right? The other thing too about the roadside stand is, I think sometimes stems like lift out of the bucket,
And then
somebody's
going through and they're checking every single bucket, and then you can.
Yeah, because they're just top heavy, so they just angle.
Yeah, and they don't think that they've done it, like they don't even notice, and then.
Because last year I had someone who sent me a picture of the bouquet, and it was like literally half. It was like, you know, like here's the bouquet, and this side of the bouquet was like, and then the other half was fine, and I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what happened there, because the half of the stems were out of the water, right? Yeah. And it's you don't know, right?
Because by the time it's sold, it still looks the same.
Yeah.
But
going back to like what Ian's saying is, any of these like comments that we've got, like these like customer feedback, there always have been people who are like, I buy your bouquets all the time and they always last. This one didn't last.
Yeah.
Right? And we haven't ever had someone be like, I tried you out for once and I was disappointed in how long your flowers lasted. Because I think that those people they're just kind of like, oh, they have like bad flowers, right? They're not bothering to, right? Like that was our chance to have a great first impression, and for them to be like, wow, their flowers last twice as long as grocery store flowers, you know, and like we fail when they buy the dahlias, right? And you don't hear about that, but doesn't.
I don't know. I like dahlias, and dahlias sell, so. I'm still into finding a way to sell dahlias, because what you're leading up to is the fact that we're talking about growing them in shade tunnels. Or
my point was that they don't make sense.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't grow them for the farm, but we still bought 100.
Yeah.
Right.
We've been talking about, you know, growing them under shade cloth in the tunnel. I mean, it's been a topic of conversation.
It has. I'm not convinced, though.
Yeah, but, you know, we've got these ideas of, because, you know, we can sit here and we can, like, tell you what to do if you started a flower farm, if you have a flower farm, but the reality about farming and gardening is it's also local, right? So it's like you can get inspired by, you know, our attempts, but, you know, maybe...
Yeah, Jennifer knows.
What works for you is, you know, going for something else at some other time. You know, that's why you have to do your research. We kind of talked about this, following a lot of flower farmer posts on like different groups and stuff. You know, people don't necessarily spend enough time assessing their like local market and figuring out their customers and picking, you know, a business model that's appropriate to that. If there is, you know, I think that one of the realities of flower farming, because it has become like, it got trendy and in areas it got saturated, and then, you know, you're always competing with like price issues, right? And so there's not always a business, you know, there's not always a profitable business in every area, in every location. You know, another thing about farms,
like what my favorite point to make, you know, when people are talking about flower farming online is people be like, oh, I found a market and there's no flower farmer at it. And I'm always like, there could be no flower farmer at that market because it doesn't make sense to be at that market. Like, don't see no flower farmer at your market and think that that's like a business opportunity. There could be no flower farmer there because like there is no flower customer.
Yeah,
Right?
and the other thing too is, you know, I don't always think that there's always a business in every business that exists. You know, some
9 out of
some
10
are destined to
businesses
fail.
fail.
And so much of a farm and what a farm can do and what a farm can be is related to the farm itself, the buildings it has, the space it has, you know, its location in proximity to customers, what type of people those customers are. You could take our like 2.5 acre farm and you could just move it to the next road parallel to us, and we wouldn't have a business.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have this like business that we're envisioning.
And I think that's something that like really gets lost in translation. And I think it gets lost in translation on the videos because the type of road that we're on isn't necessarily a very common type of road in America, right? Like, so we're on a residential thoroughfare would be, but it would like roads like this don't really exist.
It's
in
a
very many
weird
places.
little section of road because it's a way to ditch multiple stoplights for people on their way home from, you know, a common commuting route, and it's fast. It has no stops.
It's not fast.
Well-
And I think it's efficient for people driving, but I think that's another thing that gets lost. The speed limit on it is 50 kilometers, which is what, 30 miles? It's slow. It's a slow residential road. It's not.
But people
It's
go
not-
80, 70, 80 on it, pretty common. And the whole length of it is like farms that are selling roadside. And it's like this little like you know, it's almost like a strip
Yeah.
of
It's like
selling.
it's like imagine like a strip mall area. Like with traffic, like, you know, that would support a bunch of strip malls.
There's a veggie farm. There's like this orchard that's really popular that does all these events and stuff. There's like many egg vendors. There's multiple egg vendors. There's like tons and tons of fresh fruit vendors, cherry vendors. You know, the two houses that are just right next to us, well, two of the three type thing, they're both selling roadside with their cherries. And then, you know, like there's a bunch in the other direction. It's just like, if you had farms in the other area, you might want to like buy a property on this strip just to get to this, you know, to be able to sell roadside to all these people, right?
You know, when no one wanted to buy our place, it was on the market for 3 years. And the reason is the property's kind of too small to be a farm property.
Yeah.
You can't, like, 2 acres isn't enough to start a cherry orchard. And then the road is busy enough that people don't want to live on it's like a busy, noisy road, right?
And the house is, you know,
The house is like, you know, 10 feet, 15 feet from the road. It's like right on the road.
and then there's like a stone foundation that banks didn't really want to touch because people
Our
who-
house is too old.
people were kind of pushing the limits of, you know, like, oh my God, we could get this like dream property in Kelowna. We can almost afford it, but they were just kind of a bit above their budget. And then banks were like, we're not gonna let you do this. We're not gonna write you a mortgage. And so 3 deals before
I mean,
us
we even have a hard time getting a mortgage.
had fallen through because banks wouldn't insure this old house. Like they didn't want to like loan money about it. And so the house itself was part of the reason that the property wasn't selling. It's just too much weirdness going on here. But you know,
but when we bought this place, we we saw this busy road and we were like, cha-ching, right? Like, and I would say that this busy road, just having a busy road isn't enough. right? And that's the thing
Yeah.
that like the point that we're trying to make about like things under like the reason why a business works is very complicated, right? So it's like we have this busy road, but having a busy road isn't enough. It wouldn't it wouldn't give us the customer base that we have if it wasn't for the fact that 3 blocks down the busy road we have a massive community of upper middle class people, right? Like
Yeah.
the houses
With like
the
disposable incomes.
the people who drive by us on their way like to not have to go on the highway to get home, their homes are worth $1 million and they all have RVs and boats and toys in their driveways. These are people who, work,
Yeah, like they're actively
like they're
employed.
working.
It's not like a
right, so
retired.
they're driving past all the time. Like they're not growing these things for themselves. They have money. They
have
want to
kids.
spend money, and they want these nice things for themselves. So we have this built-in customer base. All we needed to do was find the product that would draw them in.
Yeah.
Right? And the reality is we started with flowers at $10 and they had no interest in our $10 bouquets. We couldn't sell $10 bouquets to these people. They didn't want $10 bouquets. But now selling $20, $30, $40 bouquets, they're all about it. They want to be there and be spending money with us.
Totally. Obviously the design became something more substantial in the price jump.
Yeah. It wasn't just slapping a different price on it, but like people could have bought 2 or 3 or 4 $10 bouquets and had exactly what we're selling.
Well, that was the point.
What?
The $10 bouquets, they hampered your ability to use more complicated.
I don't think
because you didn't have enough.
I don't think it's that simple. I think there's more to it. I think it comes down to the fact that people have a budget for what is like a treat. People have a budget for what is considered a gift. People have a budget for what is considered self-care. And if they're spending less than that, then they're not actually doing the thing that they're aiming for. Right? I think there's psychology to the price. And with veggies, if people are looking for a deal, food, everyone's happy to get a deal on food. But people don't want to get a $30 gift for $10 because they have to spend $30 on the gift, right? And it doesn't matter if they're getting a $10 item for $30. If they spent $30, they can be like, I spent $30. That's the appropriate amount to spend on a present.
Yeah. Right?
So, it's about hitting that price point.
We did it.
Well, I don't know, right? But it's complicated. The point is that it's complicated, right? And it's like we're doing market bouquets, right? We want to specialize on market bouquets, and that means we grow things that work for market bouquets.
Oh, and what else are we doing next year?
Well, you can talk about it, but that literally is not what I want to focus on, right? Like we're literally not.
Serina and I are deciding that next year we're gonna do weddings. Serina's very happy about it.
Like you can't just say that. You need to explain.
I just want to put that out there like that first and let it linger, and then I'll go into the specifics, which is we're gonna offer like a bridal bouquet and a bridesmaid bouquet, and then boutonniere is kind of like what we're talking.
Like a la carte bridal options. So the reason why we're doing this is that it's actually going to save us time. By offering these things, it's going to save us time because we have people contacting us all the time wanting these things. And we're like, we don't do that. And then they're like, no, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be easy. Like, just do it. And we're like, we don't do that. Right? So what we're going to do, this was my idea. We're going to make like bridal.
First, you're going to learn how to do it.
Yeah. Over the winter, I'm going to learn how to do it because there's
It's different.
It's different. There's complications. I need supplies. I need to know what flowers can be out of water.
Yeah. The first one that you make for the first wedding, it has to like perform right away.
Yeah, the first
It's
one.
not like you can be like, oh, our first bouquet.
The
didn't
first
work
one
out.
that I make is not going to be sold.
Yeah.
You know, the first 10 I make are not going to be sold. They're going to like literally sit on the counter out of water
Maybe-
for like 4 hours. Anyways, so what we're going to do is we're going to offer no choice, no options, no communication, high-priced bouquets designed for brides.
Well, there is some choice. You can choose
Yeah.
white.
So what we're gonna offer is we're gonna say, hey, you can't pick flowers, you can't pick colors, we can't customize anything. If you like what we do and you want to get something from us, then we offer white, bright, or soft. Those are the color palettes.
Yeah.
And it's like if you have a specific color in mind, and like then order white, because that's the only one that we can guarantee will be the color that we say it is.
Yes.
And then, you know, the bigger size probably would be 150, you know, and then the bridesmaid size would be 100. I don't know. I need to do pricing.
You need
figure
to
out-
like make some too to see how long it takes.
Yeah, because they're gonna take forever. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be like a throw it together $20 market bouquet. that
And
takes a
it's
couple
not going to
minutes.
be.
They're gonna take like an hour to make, so I need to price them for how long it takes to make an hour. And then they're also gonna like, I'm gonna have to buy a ribbon, I'm gonna have to like mess around with like tying the ribbon around it and all that. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
they're
So they're going to have to be priced according to that, because we don't want to be like taking this on and not getting anything, you know, back for it. It's like we could just keep saying no to weddings if that was the case. You know, if it's like if we're gonna make $20 an hour for your time, but in the meantime you could
it's
have
like the only way I can sell white bouquets.
yeah, in the meantime you could have done, you know, $20 bouquets or something like that.
Exactly.
You know, we have to keep in mind what the opportunity cost is, and the fact is like if you know, can we spare that much time, right? Do we take on?
You know, the other thing too about a wedding bouquet is they're not going to be the $20 bouquets. The $20 bouquets have one, like, this is the eye catcher flower, and then everything else is kind of fluff, right? A wedding bouquet is going to be like every single spot that you look at is gorgeous, right? So they are not simple, right? You know, and we've had these people contact us and be like, oh, you know, like I love your bouquets. Can't you just like make a bridal bouquet? And I'm like, if you love my bouquets and you think they'll be fine, feel free to grab one out of the stand and like have it for your wedding. But no, I can't promise you how it's gonna work, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like we're more than happy. You can do whatever you want with our bouquets.
Yeah.
Right? You want to come to my house and buy 10 bouquets and you're going to like go and like try to sell them for more money? Like great. That sounds great for me. Like do that.
Yeah.
You want to come to my house and buy 10 bouquets and you have a wedding and you're going to take them home and you're going to put them into your vases. Also great. Like I'm more than happy to do
we
that.
just sold bouquets.
Right? Like 10 bouquets, sure. Like special order, right? Just give me a couple days notice. But yeah, like it's when people contact us about like, oh, I want bridal bouquets, you know, people just don't know, right? People don't understand. You know, and if people ask, I wouldn't recommend using one of my market bouquets as a bridal bouquet because it's only designed to last for an hour out of water before like, you know, being wilty and needing to be put back into water. But the plan is we're gonna make a website this winter, redrooffamilyfarm.ca. Finally get a website. We can like have like, this is what we do, this is what we sell, this is where you can find us. And then we'll have a page where it's like a la carte weddings. We can have our options, the price that they are, and have it explain that like, there's no choices. We just do these 3 colors. You don't get to pick flowers. You don't get to pick anything. But if you like what we do, we're more than happy to work with you. You know, like, you know, because there's people who are casual. and just want something. Like they like what we do, and they want that, and so we can service those people. And for everyone else, when they contact me, I can just send the link. And if all we do is make that page, and it saves me time to be able to send the link instead of having to have a conversation with them, then that is also worth it. If we never sell a single bridal bouquet, but we can quickly tell
politely
people, we can quickly tell people who
here's the
contact
funnel.
us about weddings, then that's great too.
Yeah. But I think it's funny.
We've been contacted at so many weddings, and I think part of it is that there's like a crazy amount of weddings this year, and then there's shortages on flowers. So a bunch of people are like scrambling to get flowers.
Pretty soon we will be shipping.
We will not be shipping fresh flowers.
No, not fresh flowers, but we want to do dry flower products that we can ship. But that's like a not this winter, maybe next winter.
Like
maybe the winter
Christmas
after.
ornaments.
Yeah.
Dry flower Christmas ornaments is something. And then another thing that we were talking about shipping is, which we were like, we're gonna do it for sure, but the summer's disappeared, and we need to do it like very soon if we're gonna do it. But Leo was gonna make Christmas cards. And so we were gonna make like a set of like Christmas cards that people could order. But I don't know. It's been so busy this year, guys. It's been so crazy busy.
Just keep grinding. That's what we're doing right now. We're just in the grind, trying to.
No rest for the wicked.
No.
You're very bad, Ian.
What?
Very bad dada. Bad dada. Okay, well.
Are you out of words?
It's very hot.
Yeah.
In here. This is like one of the hottest rooms in the house.
It gets the late afternoon sunshine directly in it.
And our kids have science camp.
Oh yeah, we gotta put it to bed too.
We gotta go. It's almost like the school routine again.
Yeah, it is a school routine.
I know. Okay, so tomorrow, candle making. No way, but we have talked about maybe soap. Because we like making soap.
Yeah.
Soap is fun. Tomorrow morning, it's all scheduled. How we beat the heat.
Yep.
Farmers market vlog.
It's a good video.
It's a very good one. We highly recommend you check it out. And then we're gonna do our best.
Don't forget to like it.
Like and subscribe.
Put a little comment down the bottom being like, hello. And that's it. Even if you want. But that helps.
And watch the whole thing multiple times. These are also things that help.
Yeah. Oh,
but you don't.
You know what
YouTube?
You know what YouTube loves? It loves when you click on one of our end screen videos. That makes.
And
that
then
makes
watch
YouTube
that
go,
whole video.
Or if you ever get a survey and you're like,
yeah, legitimately, if you ever get a survey, I've never had one. I've
had them on very rare occasions. They don't do a lot of them.
Like apparently they happen like 1 in every 10,000 views or something. But like if you get a survey and you like do the survey and you're like, you can't eat the grass is the best, it's like worth like
rocket fuel.
Yeah. So
you
if you ever get a survey for us, we would highly appreciate you.
We will be in
saying
your
that
debt
you like
forever.
Yeah, but I don't know. The goal, I mean, it's Monday, but we do have science camp, so that does buy us some extra time. The goal is to try to have a video for Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, like another vlog.
Like double, like video on Tuesday, and then like a few days later, another video.
Because they're all getting filmed. All the farmers markets get filmed.
Yeah.
It's just how quickly can we process them? It would be really nice to get back on you film a video and then you start editing that one right away because we have
it's very confusing.
We have multiple cameras that we use in our videos.
Yeah, we're up to like 3 or 4 cameras.
Four.
We have to hunt through it, and then we're doing our filmmaking project, so we're like filming. I have to hunt through those files.
Yeah.
We're not that organized.
It's tough to keep up with.
I can only handle being organized to keep the farm on track.
Yeah, the point is
I can't keep videos and farm on track.
You'll upload multiple different cameras, and then you have to figure out which footage is from which video, and then as you get further and further away in time, the videos get harder and harder to remember because they all just kind of bleed into each other.
It's like, wait,
in the memory
Do we
banks.
go to the market in this one?
Yeah, and so it just makes when you get further behind, it makes it more work. So if everything's like getting filmed and edited,
Plus, we're talking
right
about
away,
going on vacation next week.
Yeah, I know. It's like that's gonna happen.
Well, it's like we're talking about doing like an overnight vacation.
Yeah.
So it's very doable. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Because
Thanks for joining us.
thanks so much, guys. Thanks for hanging out. And maybe we'll try to make it for next week too.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed. Okay, see you guys. Oh.